Hi Scorpio, and welcome to your horoscope for 2024. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I was just thinking, the other day I read this thing about the zodiac signs as cakes, and you guys as Scorpios were like the super rich chocolate cake. And in the description it said, Scorpio loves this decadent chocolate cake because they're all sex-obsessed criminals. And I told my mom, who's a Scorpio, and she didn't find that so funny. So it just kind of reminded me of that. In terms of this horoscope, 2024 is really going to be momentous for you guys, but for everyone, because we have Pluto, the planet of transformation and change, that ingresses into Aquarius. It changes signs, and that's a really big deal. So I just want to go into that a little bit. Plus, it's your ruler. So Pluto is an outer planet, and it moves very, very, very slowly. Okay, so if you draw up your birth chart, and if you put the transits around it, and you look at the path of Pluto, you'll notice that you have 12 houses in the chart. That's how the wheel is split up, like a cake actually, into these 12 different sections. And Pluto moves so slowly that it only ever touches 3 or 4 houses in your lifetime. So the fact that it does that and affects you so gradually, when it changes signs like this, it's a big deal. And outer planets have an impact on us as humanity, as society, as this collective consciousness, right? So Pluto is the planet of transformation and change, death and rebirth. It's the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's night and day. It's duality. One side, you get the other. Both sides of the coin. And it's been in Capricorn for a long time. It's been there since 2008. And for you guys, it's been in your third house of communication. So if you think back to 2008, what was happening in the world, I actually worked in a bank back then, and I was on the front lines of this. And it was the time of the credit crunch. People's mortgages became impossible, savings, all of this stuff. So securities, financial structures kind of imploded. Then Pluto and Capricorn continued all through the tens and up until now. And if you look back on the last 3 years, I don't think it's outrageous to say that, you know, the structure of the way people have worked or the way people work has really fundamentally shifted and changed. And what was also interesting is that rules and regulations didn't just become guidelines, they became like, you have to do this. And like governments and institutions and all these people were suddenly telling the individual on the ground what to do and really getting involved in everyday people's lives. And that's very on brand with Pluto and Capricorn. So that now shifts out of your third house of communication. Oh, and Pluto in Capricorn, it likes rules, it likes institutions, it likes security, it likes control and conforming and fitting in and being productive and setting goals and getting there. It moves into Aquarius, and Aquarius doesn't value any of that. It values ideas and freedom and revolution. So the opposite really, and radical new ideas. Major advances, it rules technology and astrology, so expect major advances in those areas. And it's idealism versus control and conservatism. It exits your third house of communication and it goes into your fourth house of your roots and your family, which is very interesting because you may have felt over the last decade or so that it's been very hard work to kind of express your ideas and to have a sense of freedom around that, and also even to feel like I've done this work and it's being received in the way that I wanted. And with it now moving into Aquarius, first of all, ideas really open up, and you'll notice that other people as well become much more open-minded and willing to listen to new ways of doing things rather than just nailing everything down in order to secure things. But it's interesting that it moves into your fourth house of family and what you consider to be your roots, your home, what makes you feel like you belong. Because Aquarius is about the new and let's innovate. And usually your family relationships and how you live and where you live is something that's much more long-term. So you may notice that your ideas become much more open-minded, and you start to become much more creative and willing to kind of pursue new things. But when it comes to the things in your life that are most comforting, that you start to evaluate those and you start to question them. And you say, is this where I want to live? Is this, and this is kind of harsh, but is this the relationship I want to be in? Or have I outgrown it? Is this based on an old idea of who I was and who they were? Have I grown and changed into something else? Should I move on? So that's quite difficult in the sense that if you have been in a situation for a long time and you've really started to rely on that, and it's been there so long, it's kind of part of the furniture, to start questioning that and to start doubting it, the message here via the change of Pluto is, if that question comes up and if you're like, is this still something that suits me, then that in itself is a prompt to look more into what else you could kind of connect with, what else would provide you a sense of comfort and being held as such, and whether the situation you're in right now is still suitable. It could even be a job that you've called your home for a long time, and that's paid your bills, and that's been very reliable and consistent. So for you guys, Scorpio, unsurprisingly, you don't do anything by halves, and you're going to really question the structures of your life, the things that are established. And you're going to put those under the microscope and say, do any of these things suit me? If yes, great, fine. If not, it's time to move on. So you may notice that in 2024, as a result of this, things can and will really change. And ultimately, I would say the shift for you is to move on and to examine those things, because you may have overstayed certain situations which no longer serve you. So it's kind of like a prompt, an alarm clock that says this isn't how you can spend your energy most effectively. Maybe it's time to shift into something else. So that's not going to feel overly comfortable, but it certainly in the long term is going to put you in a new structured and secure situation, which is actually going to serve you. So because Pluto does move so slowly, it now makes this shift on the 21st of January, and it stays in Aquarius until 2044. But before it does that, it retrogrades one more time back into Capricorn. So it goes back into Capricorn on the 2nd of September 2024. And then it moves forward and goes back into Aquarius on the 19th of November 2024. So your Pluto is going to oscillate over your IC, which is your roots, from the 3rd house into the 4th and back into the 3rd and then in the 4th and then beyond. So what's going to feel like it's swinging in the wind a little bit is, what do I belong to? Where do I feel at home? And that is a great opportunity to decide what you call home and how to build that and expand upon it yourself, rather than rely on other people or circumstances or institution to provide you a space. You're creating the space. So again, it's something that is really kind of shadow work, but it's going to have a fabulous outcome, because you're going to end up with structures that are much more solid straight away in 2024 than other people who are going to, or other signs of the zodiac who are going to take a little bit longer to twig onto this. You'll get it straight away. And because Pluto is your ruler and it changes signs so drastically, I think out of all of the signs, you're going to be the ones who are most inspired by new ideas and this unbridled sense of, I need freedom and I need to explore and I need to innovate something completely unique and fresh and new. So if you're a writer and you haven't come up with any ideas, this is perfect. If you have felt stuck for 20 years, you won't feel stuck in 2024. If you've been working in a particular way, you'll find an alternative. Also, and very tellingly, on the 1st of January 2024, so the first day of the new year, we have Mercury, the communication planet, going direct. And I think that's symbolically saying things are going to look very different. There's less room for miscommunication. You can trust the change in your perspective, think new thoughts, consider new ways of operating, and kind of renew yourself as such. So the phoenix rising from the ashes. And we only have 3 retrogrades of Mercury this year. The planet Mercury can retrograde 3 times or 4 times. The fact that it only retrogrades 3 times, I think, means that the pace is going to be very quick. and you're not going to be distracted by outside things as much as you usually would be. So the implication of that is it's good, and it's time for you to look within and to make those decisions for yourself, because you can build new castles in the sky in future based on these ideas that you have straight away at the beginning of January, on the 21st onwards. Venus is also direct all year. That bodes really well. When Venus goes retrograde, I always mention that it's not the best time to start a new business or a new relationship, because your perspective changes. With it being direct all year, your perspective doesn't change. It's in Sagittarius in January, and it's in your second house of money and belongings and your things. So you might have a huge kind of sense of drive and motivation towards starting your own business, or towards increasing your level of income, or even creating a whole different source of income. Mars only retrogrades once at the very end of the year on the 6th of December 2023 until 2024. God, I'm misspeaking a lot, I'm sorry. 6th of December 2024 until the 23rd of February 2025. So you don't really need to pay attention to that until pretty much a year from now. And Mars is responsible for drive and ambition and forward motion. And at the beginning of the year in Capricorn at 2 degrees in your third house of communication, it's very much along similar lines. How can I take my motivation and desire and passion, and how can I implement that in a tangible way so that I can see results from it moving forward? So any Scorpios who are looking for a change, and particularly focused on that change in their working lives and in terms of what you get as an outcome from your work, financially or circumstance-wise, I suppose, if you have a job where they give you a car and a house. If you want to implement any of those changes, that's an area that you're really supported in, particularly at the beginning of this year. We have Mercury going retrograde on the 1st of April to the 25th of April, then the 5th of August to the 28th of August, and the 25th of November until the 15th of December. So when we're nearer the time, I'll look at exactly what area that's going to influence you in. But I think overall for the year, it means that you're not going to be as distracted overall. And the things that always happen with Mercury retrograde, those are still likely to happen, but they won't distract you from this new purpose that you acquire straight away. So things like, the luggage not arriving or the bus being late, or anything with communication or transportation, computer not turning on, those little kind of annoyances, but they don't really feature largely overall. So I want to have a look at a few specific things that stand out in 2024. First of all, on the 27th of January, we have Uranus going direct. Uranus is the planet of the miraculous and unexpected, and it's in Taurus, and it's been in retrograde since the 28th of August 2023. So when a planet goes direct, the way I interpret that is you experience that energy in your external environment. When it's in retrograde, you experience it in here. So with Uranus going forward, you'll start to notice that your relationships or that area of your life really picks up. And that makes sense, because if you're questioning your existing relationships and circumstances, and you're like, I'm not so sure whether this is still right for me, then it makes sense to look at that and to say, okay, well then you're going to go out more and you're going to meet new people and you're more open to making new friends. And also the energy you give off, where you're kind of paying more attention, is going to attract other people to you. And then also you've got Jupiter, the lucky planet, at 7 degrees in Taurus, also in that 7th house of relationship. And Jupiter is growth and expansion and good fortune. So the combination of those two in your 7th house means that you have a lot of movement in your social network. And it doesn't just need to be romantic relationships. It can be colleagues, friends, extended family, anybody really. So Jupiter and Uranus are positive influences. I would say they're both benefics. Let me know if you disagree. but it actually encourages you to open up a little bit. So, you know, and it doesn't mean that if you've been in a relationship for a long time and you're super committed to it, and you do question it and you decide, I'm still very happy and I want to stay in this relationship, then good and fine and proper. It's just the ability to kind of examine that. But even if that's the case, you say, I'm totally satisfied in this situation, but I'm still willing to open up a little bit more and to bring new people into my circle or into my network. So whichever kind of circumstance applies to you, whether you're single and you want to kind of meet new people, or you're pretty good with friends and everything, then it may be that, you know, you experience new colleagues, or that you spend more time with family. Ultimately, things open up as far as your relationships are concerned, and you're less focused on the things that have been solid for a long time. Yeah. Okay, so then we've got a lot of eclipses happening. The first of them is on the 25th of March. That's a lunar eclipse in Libra. And that happens in your, let me check, in your 12th house of spirituality and spiritual strength. And it's opposed by a lot of Aries energy in your 6th house. So this now gives you a great connection to the higher realms, your guides, the angels, and they will start to give you messages in terms of what you can do independently, where you can take action on your own to change the everyday structure of your life. So it's almost like this is something you're being nudged toward, to open things up and to be willing to embrace change to make your life richer. On the 8th of April, we have a solar eclipse in Aries, and that happens in your 6th house. So when it comes to any kind of situation, living situation I'm not satisfied with, I don't need to tolerate it for very long. I'm going to make a decision like this, and I'm going to make inroads into this new thing that I'm passionate about. So again, that sounds kind of risky just as I'm listening. If you do that randomly and you're like, oh, you know, I'm bored, I just wanted something new, then all of your relationships would be short term and all of your circumstances, because then you'd always be moving on to the next thing. But because of the eclipse that was there 2 weeks before, I really think that this particularly applies to Scorpios who've stayed in situations which they've outgrown and where there's been an unwillingness to change or to move on. This is kind of a nudge that enables you to do that. On the 2nd of May, your ruler, Pluto, starts to retrograde until the 11th of October, and it starts its march back into Capricorn, which it reaches on the 2nd of September. So with Pluto retrograding, it's in your 4th house on your IC still in Aquarius. So now I'm really getting even clearer as to what structures I want to let go of and what new ones I want to bring in. On the 26th of May, Jupiter goes into Gemini. Jupiter, the lucky planet, oh great, growth, expansion in your 8th house of institutions and groups of people. This is the door opening into a new community, a new company, a new organization, a new team that you hadn't been aware of before, and that's not featured in your life before. So you see, it starts to make sense now why you're being urged to let go of certain things, because you're making space so that you can move into something new. So it's almost like you're being prompted along this path of there's something in your life that is no longer useful and there's a great opportunity out there for you. It's important you pay attention, that you move towards that. It's going to be something that brings good fortune into your life and something that will pay off. So there's a rhyme and a reason to all of this. On the 29th of June, we've got Saturn, the planet of structure and security, that goes retrograde until the 15th of November. And it's right next to Neptune, also in Pisces, and that goes retrograde on the 2nd of July until the 7th of December. So both of those are going to give you their energy again internally. Saturn is the foundation of what I'm sure about. Neptune is the dream. So I'm totally clear about what I love and what I want to move towards. At the same time, I also know what needs to be in the rear view mirror and what needs to be let go of. So it's kind of like an emotional spring cleaning, and you're getting much more focused on engaging only with things that give you a sense of fulfillment and connection that is meaningful and purposeful, that leads somewhere. Okay. So, yeah. If anyone tries to guilt you or tries to get you to do something that you don't want to do, there's zero chance of you falling for that. And if I look at it on the other extreme, the only thing I would look out for is that you could possibly be overly dismissive of something or someone in your life who actually has been there for you, and there still is a connection. And you may just lump that in with everything else that you're now letting go of and say, ugh, I just want everything to be new. That's the thing I would watch out for, that you don't become overly enthusiastic with letting go of absolutely everything. But again, I think that's just the potential extreme. And with Pluto being in Aquarius, you do have that moment of assessment, right? So you will decide this for yourself. And it's not like you're just willy-nilly, like, bring this in and let go of that. You are looking at this over several months and making good decisions which you can trust and tidying things up. On the 1st of September, we've got Uranus going retrograde until the 30th of January. And that again happens in your 7th house. So the unexpected, the chaotic sits internally, and it's the concrete structures in my life that I no longer want to be a part of. And I'm incredibly courageous about embracing the uncertain and the thing that isn't guaranteed. But what I do know is that the thing that I've outgrown and that I'm tired of, I no longer want. So it's a repetition of this many times. On the 17th of September, we have a lunar eclipse in Pisces. 17th, let me go to the exact day. That happens again in your 5th house of what you love. The moon is your feelings. It sits in between Saturn and Neptune, both of them in retrograde. So if you've been uncertain or unclear about anything in 2024, on an emotional level, around the 17th of September, or I would say, in that week, you're really going to be able to say, I have hit this on the head. This is the decision I'm going to make on it once and for all, and that's what I'm going with. Regardless of the outcome, I've made my decision, and that's it. I'm not going to keep going over this again and again. On the 2nd of October, we've got the solar eclipse in Libra. That happens in your 12th. So again, if you do want to check in, it's better to check in with your higher self through meditation or some spiritual practice, whatever works for you, if it's painting or running or whatever makes you feel connected. It's better to listen to that inner voice than to have other people tell you what they expect and want, and to adjust yourself to that. And then finally, on the 9th of October, we have the lucky planet Jupiter going retrograde until the 4th of February 2025 in your 8th house. So I know what group I want to be a part of. I now see how to get there, how to connect with that energy, and that's what I'm going to do. So it's really a change in the landscape of your life where, you're really being very decisive in terms of what needs to be there and what doesn't. So it sounds to me like you need to make some space for good things to come in, and you're preparing yourself for that. And by the second half of the year here, it's very likely that that new connection will have presented itself, or that you're already in it. So let me know how you experience this. This is very interesting. I hope you have a wonderful time here in 2024. If you would like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on Book Your Reading to audio reading with me. If you want some more information on what the planets are doing, check out my monthly horoscopes, my weekly horoscopes, the daily tarot readings. Have a great time here, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best.